Well, hello, my Cracky, we're here again, and it sure is glad to talk to y'all. I thought today I'd pick up a couple items that I'd forgot in a couple of my travels. For example, we was heading from Duane to go up to that power plant job, and we just got started good, and it started storming and raining, so it was getting late anyway, so we pulled into this here motel. And it kind of had a little hill going down into where all the cabins were, and with car ruts and that here and there, especially when you got off the park. Well, we was pulling in there and got out of the car, and I could see a little baby kitten struggling through the mud. There was big ruts in the mud, and oh, it just looked like it was a terrible effort for it. And it was coming to us, and it just looked as it was just a small little cat. And it was looking at us and meowing and just struggling coming towards me. And it got about, well, as soon as I felt so sorry for it that I went out and got it. And it was a Siamese cat, a little kitten. Just a little small. It couldn't have been very old, because they get to be a pretty good sized cat. And in case you don't know what a Siamese cat is, they was used in China, in the Orient. The emperors used it for cats to be by their throne. And what they was a watch cat, like a watchdog.
Right.
And boy, we sure found that out later in life, which I would like to give you a couple examples. But I'd got out, we stopped the car, and I got out, and by the time I came by, my wife had a towel, and she just wrapped that cat up, and we went in our room, and she babied it. She liked animals, I think. That's the first time I saw her with a small animal. She was raised out on a farm. And
right.
So anyway, we cleaned it up, and well, years later, of course, it grew, and it was a good-sized cat, and it seemed to just love us, you know.
Right.
And it's a real protective cat. I guess that's why the emperors used him as a watch dog, but
right.
It was a cat. Okay. And so later on, when we, of course, it followed us around and rubbed against our leg, you know, it really loved us.
Right.
And later on, when we managed motels and apartments, that cat would sit right on the counter, you know, when people would come in, and that cat would watch those people, and he wouldn't take his eyes off of them. Just like it, just, you know, ready if they did anything or got acted
right.
up. But the biggest, the greatest thing I ever saw in my life, later on, and that cat, every motel and place that we had a job like that, that cat was right there on the counter. And it got to be a good-sized cat. Boy, just watch those people. But the biggest thing that I wanted to tell you about, we was renting this house, and it had a big front lawn. Must have been 100-foot square or something like that. It was a big front lawn and with the road and the driveway coming in. Well, one day we was sitting out on the front porch. We didn't have much of a porch, but it was nice. You could get out and get the fresh air and so forth. Well, one day a big dog, it must, I think it's some kind of a mongrel dog that kind of looked sort of like a police dog, but it wasn't pure.
Right.
We didn't have a fence or nothing. And that dog came down the road and came, he looked at us and he started towards us on the lawn. And boy, our cat, who? And boy, he started all bristling up, you know how cats can do. He started out towards it, and the closer he got, the faster he got, till by the time he got to it, he made a leap in the air and landed right on his back. He's just working with his claws. And you talk about a dog yelping and running. Well, I guess that's really some cat, though. I just wanted to tell you about that.
What was the cat's name?
Sam. It's a good name for him, and he knew his name. And when we first went to that power plant, I bought a little store just on the outskirts of town. It's still residential, lot of houses and stuff, but it was probably about 15 or 16 feet wide and about 30 feet long, going back into with a big cement 3 or 4 car thing in the front.
Right.
I bought that and remodeled that into a house while I was there. But so we had the cat there. Let's see. Oh, now this was in Waco, Texas, and we lived by the river there, going into town coming from east to west on the highway. And there was a nice park out there. We used to walk by there, and in the far side of the park, we had to walk by it to get to the park, was a house that had, well, there's a lot of houses around there, a house where a lady raised birds.
Huh.
And they was these sort of like a parrot, only this one was white. They was called, well, I'll tell you, I got it wrote down here. The name of it, a really pretty bird. A parakeet?
Yeah.
I guess that's what they call it, a parakeet. But anyway, my wife was remarking and talking to her because she had a yard full of big flowers and raised the birds. And she had some that was just born. And of course my wife really kind of wanted one, and I guess she could tell because she gave us one.
Huh.
I guess, well, my wife was a real friendly type person and hit it right off talking
Right.
to her. And told her how she'd like one. And so she gave us one. So now we raised that bird. She took it home and we had to feed it with the eyedropper, mix up some oatmeal or stuff that she was told how to do. And that bird, they get bigger. You know,
Right.
They're a pretty big bird. It would follow us around the house. It'd walk along and we'd put it in its cage, and it would just, we left the door open, and it would go in and out of its cage, fly up to it, and go in whenever he got hungry, I guess. That's pretty good, and slept at night. But he would follow us around the house, and he would come up to my leg and then climb up to my legs. I guess he had some claws on there. He'd crawl up my legs and get on my shoulder. And he liked, I guess it's a he. I couldn't tell the difference. But it'd get up on my shoulder. And him and the cat got along wonderful. They got to be buddies, you know.
What was the bird's name?
I forget. That's getting old. You know.
Right.
If I think about it, I'll tell you what it was. We had, of course, we had it named and everything. And like in the motel, it sat. It was about as friendly as the cat was, and they got along just like buddies, which I guess they were. But when he wanted to get in his cage, I don't know what we had on there, but he could climb up that and get, well, he could fly up too, but a lot of times he wouldn't fly. He would climb on things. He would get in his cage and stay in there a while, and then he might get out and wander around the house. So we'd have had that cat and bird until I think they both died eventually of old age.
Right.
But they sure did make good pets. It's amazing how animals can get along with the person.
Right.
You know, if you get along with the animal, they get along with you, because they can show you how much they love you.
Right.
So I just wanted to tell you about them because we enjoy them so much.
Right.
And then I had a job there once in Defuniak. No, this was Baytown, Texas. This is between the construction jobs, you know. When you work construction, you have a big job, and then the company will get other jobs, and then they'll call you.
Right.
And let you know. And because once you get on with a big company like that, and you do good work, they like to keep you. But we got a job working for this. I forget the name of it, but it was an apartment complex. And it was a nice complex. It was pretty big. It had 2 swimming pools, and there's big pools, swimming pools. So you know it was a big apartment complex.
Right.
And well, we got. I guess we lost one of the maintenance men. We had several maintenance men that they was, well, now I like Spanish people, and I'm not trying to belittle them or nothing. It's just the individual. There's individual white people that's the same way, I guess.
Right.
But they was kind of lazy when they was hired for, you know, yard man and the one, I don't think they was brothers, but they might have been brothers. One of them was about 18 and the other about 20 or something. And the 20-year-old was nice looking. He was a handsome Spanish man. And he's the one I want to talk about. He was supposed to be my helper in a way, you know. He's supposed to help me.
Right.
Well, we was supposed to work together. If you had a job where you need to move some refrigerators or something, they were supposed to help you on jobs.
Right.
But usually I was working on fixing an air conditioner. Well, on these air conditioners, you had to have a license to replace the compressor in it.
Right.
So it was my job to electrically find out what was wrong with that air conditioner, why it didn't work. And so I had to be able to tell them. And if it was the compressor, I had to be able to tell them, well, the trouble's the compressor. And you'll find out that the trouble is this wire right there and so forth. When they came to pick it up, I had to be able to tell them right where the trouble was.
Right.
And, well, I could do that. I had an ohmmeter and, you know, what, took a few measurements and listening to it, try to run and stuff. If you know what, right down to the wire or where the trouble was. So, but that's not the instant when I had to help move a refrigerator.
Right.
And so I had this guy come and help me. He was supposed to help me. And when we had to move this refrigerator up to the second floor on a big set of stairs. And we got to those stairs, and I got up to the top of the refrigerator, and he was on the bottom, and I had to pull it up. And he might as well have not even been there. He was standing there, and as we went up the steps, I could tell he wasn't even helping a bit.
Right.
And I just pulled it up. I might as well have told him to go ahead and do something else. And that kind of disturbed me a little bit, and I went to the manager afterwards and told him about it. And we had a lady manager, and she was a young thing, and she was pretty, and he was handsome, so she wouldn't even bawl him out. Wouldn't even, you know, I told her she needed to fire the lazy bum.
Right.
No, she said he was a good worker. We can't do that. But you know, from then on, I saw him in the office a lot, visiting. They spend a lot of time visiting. So you know what the problem there was.
Yeah.
Well, I just brought that up because it's one of the little things in life that you run into.
Right.
The other helper did a lot better. I taught him how to test the swimming pool and check it out and take care of it, and he did a pretty good job. I don't have no complaints about him. But one day I got to work harder. I had to go paint the front door on this apartment on the second floor. And I got up there and nobody answered the door. So I had keys, master keys. And so I unlocked the door and peeked in, and I could see a man's head on the floor. He was asleep, looked like. And, I didn't want to wake him up, and he was only about 10, 15 feet away. You know, the hall went in, and the living room, and then the apartment went that way, but I could see his head, and it was laying there, and so I said, I'll just paint the door and not wake him up. And I cleaned the door up and painted it, and he still didn't wake up, so I shut the door. And later on in the day, that evening sort of, a policeman came and wanted to talk to me. And I found out that man was dead.
Huh.
I didn't know he was dead. I knew he wasn't making no noise. But he was only about, I'd say, not much over 10 feet away either. But all I could see was really the back and top of his head. I didn't know he was dead. And that detective, he said, "You mean you painted that door and couldn't tell that guy was dead?" And I told the detective, "No, I couldn't." And nothing ever came of it or nothing.
Right.
What could they do? I didn't know he was dead. That's just one of the little things that happens when you're maintenance man in a motel.
Right.
Next day I have to go to this one apartment where the guy inside had put big 2x4 brackets on the side with a couple 2x4s across that he could put in 2x4s. I guess he didn't want nobody to come in his apartment.
Right.
So I had to tell him, well, he's going to have to take those boards off of there or move. Oh, a lot of people's funny, you know, you run across that. Oh, but anyway, what's the next thing on my list? All these little things I was going to that happened.
I think you might have covered everything.
Is time up?
Just about.
Oh, it was real nice. That was a good job though, because the guy that owned it owned that and a couple other apartments downtown in Houston. But every year he paid all his employees could go on a fishing trip.
Huh.
And they had big party boats, big that could take 20, 30 people easy, no problem. And it didn't cost us a cent. He paid for it.
Nice.
And that now was really fun. We got out in the Gulf and people fishing, and by golly, it was getting kind of rough weather. But I caught, my goodness, I must have caught 30 red snappers.
Huh.
Now that's a good fish to eat. And fact is, I took a tub with me, and by golly, I filled that tub full of red snapper. It was full. So it got stormy too. Coming back, it got real stormy, and boy, if you was out on deck, you better be holding on to the railing, boy. You'd get blown away. And the waves was big, and everybody really enjoyed that. They was out hanging on the rails and, you know. But that was one nice thing about some jobs are really nice.
Right.
For things like that. They have bosses that appreciate the good work you do. And so we went home that night, and I went down and bought a big deep freeze and put that all in there, and my goodness, all the meals we got from that fish actually paid for what, if we'd went out and bought the fish meal, it paid more than paid for the refrigerator.
Right.
Well, it was a freezer, not a refrigerator. It was a regular floor as big as a refrigerator, you know.
Right.
Well, I could probably think of a few more things, but how's the time?
I think that's good for today. Unless you want to go over something.
About well, my daughter. That's the town and place we was living. So she met this Mexican boy, and they went together, and they got married a little later on.
Right.
But we was invited over there, and so I got pretty well acquainted with Mexican cooking, and of course, good.
Yep.
You know, there wasn't too much of it I didn't care for, but his wife Annette was friendly, and he later on, after they got out of high school, he got to be manager of the garage, because he took automotive, I guess, in the summertime or something.
Right.
Classes. And my wife, my daughter, when she got out of high school, she got her job too. But she went to night school and kept going until she got her college degree. Eventually, you know, it takes a little while.
Right.
But he became manager of the garage. Not immediately. But just like my wife, it took time to get her college degree. Well, he went to paint school and automotive school, and he could do a paint. Well, I'd had him paint my car, and that paint job, he did something to that paint job that it never did show dirty. You could just take a rag and wipe it off. It's just like it's some finish on there, a special plastic finish of some kind.
Right.
And it's easy to keep clean because you just take one of these car wiping dust cloths and wipe that car, and man, it would just shine like a new one. But what I'm getting at in this little tale, they got married and had 3 kids. And then she caught him out with another woman. Almost busted the door down because she knew where they was at.
Right.
And got in and caught him. And so they got a divorce. But she of course kept the kids, but he was good to her and paid her monthly stuff to help her, and all through their life, you know. It's just that she didn't like the idea of him being in bed with another woman.
Right.
You know. So they actually got along good, but she up and got married later on to this a man that owned a company that would go around. You know, Texas is good for oil, drilling oil, and the refineries. There's a lot of refineries there. Well, when they have what they call a cracker or something, a big metal container that they would heat it up, I guess, and put the crude oil in there, and as the stuff came off, that's the part they could take off kerosene and gas and anything that's oil. They could get the different viscosity of the oil, the thickness, and that's the way they process crude oil, in case you never knew.
Right.
But I thought, and that's what his company did. They went around to refineries because they'd have to shut that down every so often and clean it.
Right.
Good. And he had a crew that would clean that out. I guess he must have made pretty good. I know his folks, she got married to him, and his brother, I guess together they owned a big ranch out there just southwest of Fort Worth, Texas.
Right.
And later on, she must have told him, talked about me or something, but he gave her a cell phone to give to me so that she could talk to me more often, just like that.
Right.
And when it went bad, he gave me another. Well, I guess he had, all his men had to use them, so he had to have a lot of cell phones, one for each man. Because if they got in there, needed help or something, they had to have immediate contact.
Right.
In these big refinery things. So I've still got my cell phone, a newer one, but it don't cost me nothing.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, me and my daughter, we always got together good. I mean, we just, I liked her and she liked me. And it's still that way. She visits me every once in a while and tell me when time's up.
Yeah, that's good.
When she visit me, and she bought a store south of Fort Worth on some highway, and I haven't been up to visit her yet. I hope to one of these days. But she bought a kind of a little store, and I haven't been there to see it, but it's kind of like stationery and all kinds of knickknacks and things.
Right.
And she's still running it, and she's hired 2 or 3 people since she bought it, and I guess fixing things up. And she also has the equipment to, T-shirts where they have pictures and names and stuff on them. She has a little section there where she does that. She has 2 or 3 people working for her now. To start with she didn't, but she's built that up, and she keeps doing more and better all the time.
Right.
And I guess her and her husband is building, the ranch is not too far from there, and I guess they might be in the process of building them a house. You know, they have the big ranch house, but he wants has the brother that I guess wants the big house.
Right.
And so he's going to build them a house, a nice ranch house out there. I mean, that's their plans, I guess. But one day I might be able to go visit her, I think. We'll plan on that sometime. Because she had, well, between him, her first husband and the second one, they must have 5 or 6 kids. All of them girls, I think.
No,
Oh,
there's Mark.
Mark was a boy.
Right.
Did they have any other boys?
Not that I know of.
Well, she has some cute kids. She came down to Florida to visit me once, and we went to that real famous beach, on the sea, from Jacksonville, Florida. You
Right.
Go east down to the beach. It must have been, we had to go up Florida ways. It must have been about 50 miles from where we was, Jacksonville, because it was farther up in Florida.
Right.
But that was a really nice beach. They had a lot of restaurants, seafood places just right, well, it was right on the beach practically. And from the cafes and that, it's just a little boardwalk out to a nice area that you could sit and watch it and even go fishing. They had a nice deck out there, and it was made to handle a lot of people.
Right.
You know, and the beach, you couldn't beat the beach. It was a good beach. And while we was there, something happened, I forget. It was some funny boat went by, some big funny boat. I'll probably think of it after we're all done here, then I'll forget about it again. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.